This is the new Sony Z200, their new 1-inch sensor fixed lens camcorder, which is jam-packed full of Sony's latest imaging technology. We've been waiting for new Sony camcorders for a long time. We had the Z190 and Z280, but they're now 5 years old, believe it or not, and they've got smaller sensors. The only 1-inch sensor camcorders from Sony have been the tiny little Z90, which is 6 years old, and the Z150, which is 7 years old now. And meanwhile, both Canon and Panasonic have been doing really well with their 1-inch sensor camcorders, the CX350 and the XF605, both great cameras. So needless to say, we were very pleased to see a new 1-inch sensor camcorder from Sony at all, let alone one that is this nicely designed and this well spec'd. The first thing to know is that there are effectively two versions of this camera with two different names. This is the Z200, which is the more professional one with SDI and timecode ports. Then there's the more affordable version, which only has HDMI, and that's called the NX800. So why are the names so different? I'm not sure. But they are effectively the same camera, but with different ports and slightly different recording options. In the record format menu at 25p, you get the choice of XAVC-SI or XAVC-SL. So the MP4 based codecs from their mirrorless cameras, which does make sense. They're very easy to work with, broadcasters are used to them, and there's an all-I and long GOP version available, as well as them all being 10-bit, so why not? There's also XAVC-HSL, which is their fantastic H.265 codec. It's great, but just like on Sony's other cameras, it's only available in the higher frame rates, not at 25 or 30p. And I have no idea why they keep doing that. I've given it as feedback so many times now, and I'm just going to carry on banging on about it because H.265 is great. It's really useful, and it's just as useful at 25p as it is at 100p. So why don't they just give people the choice? I have no idea. Then in a future firmware, Sony are adding MXF support. So that's their regular XAVC codecs from the FX6 and FX9, but only to the Z200, not to the NX800. So if you need those broadcaster-friendly codecs, make sure you choose the Z200. And for frame rates, we get 4K up to 120p and HD with the full sensor up to 240p. The sensor itself is actually 5K, but you can't record that 5K. Instead, it uses it to downsample to get its 4K, which will give you more detailed images with a cleaner noise floor. This works up to 4K 60, and at 4K 120, it swaps to a 1:1 pixel readout, so there is a slight crop. In 1080p though, you get a full sensor readout all the way up to 240p. You also get full autofocus in all of those frame rates, which is very useful. The lens is a 20 times zoom range, which is a full frame equivalent of 24 to 480mm, and it ramps between T2.8 and T4.5. That is a big step forwards over the old Z150, which was a 12 times 29 to 348mm. It's also a step up over the competition, as the Canon XF605 has a 15 times 25.5 to 382.5mm lens. So the Z200 is both wider and substantially longer in range. Plus, on top of this, you also get clear image zoom, which has been around for ages on Sony cameras, but in case you haven't used it before, is a type of digital zoom which actually looks great. This lets you get 1.5 times further in 4K and 2 times further in 1080p, with no noticeable drop in quality. It also takes over seamlessly with the zoom rocker, so you can just treat it as a regular part of your zoom range, and that effectively gives you a 24 to 720mm zoom range in 4K as well. That's not even 1080p. That's pretty incredible for a 1-inch sensor camera. Another big step up over their older cameras is that we now have the fantastic variable ND system, which is just a dream to use on bright sunny days like this. And it's perfect for the kind of work which fixed lens camcorders are often chosen for. It lets you work so quickly. And the auto ND mode is also going to be very useful here as well. You get this seamless and smooth transition and can set the ND precisely to whatever you want between 2 stops and 7 stops of strength. Physically, the camera has some really nice design features. The first thing most people notice when they pick up the camera for the first time is this folding screen design and the viewfinder which just tucks right into the body. This makes such a difference when you're traveling around and will really help keep your viewfinder safe from any knocks and bangs while it's in its bag. The front LCD also folds in really nicely. Now it does stick out a bit when it's folded, which I'm not super keen on, but it does feel very strong and well built, so I don't think it's going to cause any actual problems. And when it's flipped out, it feels great. It's very strong and stable, and it flips all the way around so that you can see it clearly from in front of the camera and from the side. It also has this nice sunshade, which clips on and slides off really simply. The screen itself is a 2.76 million dot panel, which is 3.5 inches large. The viewfinder is a 2.36 million dot, 0.39 inch OLED display. The rest of the camera is going to feel very familiar to anyone who is used to Sony camcorders at all, or even to the FX6 or the FX9. There's a total of 12 assignable buttons, 2 XLR ports on the top, and audio controls on the operator side. Dual slots on the back, which are the dual format SD and CF Express Type A slots, like on other modern Sony cameras. And the camera can use V90 SD cards for pretty much everything we've seen. The only limitation that we've noticed with them is a media not supported warning when in XAVC SI, 4K, and 120 frames per second slow motion all at the same time. The battery slot is BPU, just like the FX6 and FX9, and on a fully charged BPU 35 like this one, the camera is saying you're going to get around 2 hours of use, which is really quite good. On the back of the Z200 is a HDMI port, USB-C, 12G SDI out, BNC timecode with a switch to change it from in and out modes, Ethernet, and a LANC port. There's a zoom rocker and joystick for menu control on the top handle and on the side handle. You know, this is all pretty much as you'd expect from Sony, and it's nice to use. So let's take a look at some of this footage. This was such a strong, sunny day. One of the hottest of the year, actually. So on a day like this, it's going to be a challenge for any camera, and you've got to keep that in mind. Overall, the footage definitely looked better than the previous Sony fixed-length camcorders which I've used. Because of this strong sun though, I was definitely struggling with clipped highlights throughout the day. And I think what made this even worse was that I chose to use their new 709 tone gamma profile to see how it looked. But in hindsight, it was completely the wrong choice for a day like this. Have a look at these more controlled side-by-side tests which we did in the showroom. In my opinion, S-Cinetone looks far better than the new 709 tone, which not only seems to have more clipped and harsh highlights, but is also really quite desaturated overall. I wish we'd done this side-by-side test before going out and filming, as the footage would almost certainly have looked much nicer. So on almost every clip from the camera you've seen in this video so far, I've had to pump up that saturation and pull back the highlights as much as I possibly could. Now I did use S-Log3 for a few shots, which definitely didn't have the same clipping issues, so it's not necessarily a sensor dynamic range problem here. But Log has a minimum ISO of 1600, and with the ISO that high, even the max strength of ND in the camera wasn't enough sometimes. The sun was that bright. It's also, I've got to say, quite noisy in S-Log3. This is a pre-production camera, of course, but I had to add noise reduction to almost every single shot I used with Log. So I think really what I should have been using for this shoot on a day like that was S-Cinetone with this camera. When the sun does go down though, we have the night shot modes, which will be very popular for journalists and documentary work. The camera has an IR light on the front of it and 2 night vision modes to choose from that work with it, either white or green. This has the AI chip inside, which their mirrorless and ZV cameras have been using to do all kinds of clever new features. Firstly, this brings that autofocus performance of the latest Sony cameras. Unfortunately though, you don't seem to get subject recognition beyond humans, which is a bit of a shame, as lots of people do use these cameras for filming wildlife and vehicles. From what we can tell, that autofocus performance as a whole though is incredibly good. It tracks faces and eyes really well, and it performs just as well as we've seen from other modern Sony cameras. You also get the auto tracking function from the ZV lineup, which will be really handy for journalists filming themselves. This effectively is an intelligent crop mode, which will automatically move the framing depending on where you are inside the frame. It also has a very feature-rich streaming side to the camera. It can use SRT or RTMP to stream over the built-in Wi-Fi or the Ethernet port. You can also do FTP uploads and tether over the USB-C ports. Beyond this, you can pair it with Sony's accessories like the PDT FP1 data transmitter, which is effectively a more streamlined version of an Android phone, just designed for this kind of professional work. Or the larger CBK RP07 unit for higher-end remote multi-camera production. So they've pretty much covered every use case when it comes to network connection here. We haven't had the Z200 for that long, but it's safe to say we have been very impressed. This is not just everything we'd been hoping Sony would add to their fixed lens camcorder lineup, but it is also now the most feature-rich camera across its competition, regardless of brand really. You know, there's a lot of camera here for a very good price. So much so, I imagine quite a few Z280 customers will be looking enviously at some of these features, even though that is a much higher priced camera. And Sony have been keen to stress to us that this is not a Z280 replacement. I imagine they're going to be considering that camera. We might see something in that sort of space in the future, some sort of higher-end broadcaster focused camera, but with some of these features, who knows? But for now though, this is a pretty incredible camera with every feature that we love on those other modern Sony cameras. It's got variable ND, fantastic autofocus, fantastic zoom range, comprehensive streaming capabilities, AI features like auto framing. There's so much going on here. I imagine this is going to be a lot of what people would want from a camera like this, but let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you want to order a Z200 or NX800 or try one for yourself, get in touch with us here at ProAV and we'd be happy to help. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.